ain't all sunshine and rainbows.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. Jack left town.
Maybe I am insane. And maybe it's time for you to find out how insane I am. Yeah.
I can kill everyone in this game? Sorry.
By the power of Grayskull.
Etrigan, you stop right there!
Are you ready?
Go ahead. What are you doing? Do your job.
All right, well, hello, everybody. And tonight we're ready. I'm getting to it. The dramatic entrance, Lewis.
Yes, of course.
So tonight we
It's
have...
Monday night.
I'm trying.
Do it. We got people waiting.
Tonight we have a super cool cosplayer and writer, Danielle Orsino, with us.
You actually said her name right. See, the only reason why... Hi, Danielle. The only reason why I made you do it because I knew I was going to blow the last name. So... And I'll give you an A+. That was great. Who loves you, kid? You did great. I'm telling you. Absolutely. Anyway, I'm Louis Perry. That is Quinderella. I'm not going to say her last name at all. I just call her M. And this is Danielle. Danielle, oh, we got comments coming in. Aviva, hello, Aviva. Good evening. Danielle has been writing books for quite some time. And you can find her books on the Four Horsemen publications, Four Horsemen Inc. publications. And not only is she a cosplayer, not only is she an author, she's a nurse, and a 1999 Martial Arts Hall of Fame inductee. So I'm definitely not going to mess with her at all. So this is definitely a ladies' night. No, so I'm going to be here right now. I'm definitely outnumbered. But Danielle, your inspiration for writing these books was a patient. Am I correct?
Yes, it was one of my patients. It was funny because we kind of started down the same path. He was my first stick that day in the IV room. It was his first day. I had been there maybe a week. So it was like we were kind of walking down that path together. And we became very close. And he just didn't want to do treatment anymore. He was being treated for Lyme disease. So, you know, I'm not breaking any HIPAA laws, so nobody come after me. And he just didn't want to do it. So he said, you know, you've got to keep me in this chair one way or the other. And handcuffing him was out of the question. So he said, you know, tell me a story, do something. And I said, well, tell me something interesting about yourself. Something that you haven't told me in the year and a half you'd been there. And he said, I was recruited by the CIA out of college. So right there, you know, my ears went up. Yeah, exactly. You know, I went to the conspiracy theory place, you know, where most of us go.
Yes.
You know, that's where I went. I was like, well, did you take it? And he's like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, oh, we could have found out what was in Roswell. You know, I went right there. I went to the Grays in Roswell. I was there, you know, Magic Bullet, JFK, right there. And he was like, no, it was for the Trends and Intentions Division of the CIA. And he's like, the most boring part. And I'm like, oh, you could have been secret agent, man. Once again, Jim Steranko, I was right there. And he's like, no. And, you know, he was kind of hemming and hawing. So I said, well, you know where Lyme disease really comes from? And he's like, yep, Plum Island. Once again, down the rabbit hole. Right down, conspiracy theories abound, pulling them out. And he's like, well, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, you know where it really comes from? To this day, I have no idea what made me say this. And out of my mouth comes, no, the Fae. And he stops and he looks at me. He's like, the what? And I'm like, you know, fairies. And I'm like, they're, you know, angels that were locked out of heaven. And I just start telling him this story. And I'm just making it up as I go. And he's like, I was like, I know what a real secret agent man like yourself is here. I was like, you want to see if the nurse is really like the brains behind this whole operation. She's a Fae human hybrid. And I just put him in the story. Not thinking I was going to do anything with it. I'm like, I'm going to go be a physician assistant. I'm going to school. I'm going to go fill some faces up with Restylane in Westchester County. I'm like, I'm going to go make the bucks. I ain't got time for this. And the story was born. It just came from that. That's really as simple as it is and as complicated as it is at the same time. So, you know, a typical comic book origin story when you think about it.
Mm-hmm. And 5 books later, am I correct? It's 5 books?
It's 5 books later. I'm working book 6 is done. And then we jump to volume 2, which is really where I put my patient in the story. And his literary persona, Agent Graham from the CIA, is taking place in a Lyme disease clinic. And I put his story actually in it. And that's volume 2. Yep. And there we go.
Wow.
I just love how, like, you think any day is going to be like a normal day and you wake up and just that happens. Like, boom. That's awesome.
It was, yeah, I had no idea. I never thought, you know, as much as I said as a kid, you know, I wanted to be a writer. The next day, I also said I was going to be Wonder Woman. So, you know, my dad literally has 2 essays that are written within a week. Yeah, where I was like, I'm going to be a writer one day. And then he showed me the essay that's written a week later. And he's got the date where I'm like, I'm going to grow up and be Wonder Woman. And he looked at me and he's like, yeah. So which one is it going to be today, Danielle? And I'm like, well, technically, I kind of did both. So
exactly.
I win.
Exactly.
Now, and when you first reached out to Emily and I, you had said that you're shooting the book, the cover for the book for the next book, book 6.
Yes.
Now you're the cover model for all your books. How did that come about?
That was not my idea. So let's be clear about that one before everybody's like, oh, how vain. No, that was not my idea. My original book for book 1 was just typeset. Then I switched publishers to 4 Horsemen, and I had it all planned out. Like I was going to do all these blue covers to show Fae blood is being spilled. And they were like, They were like, so we have these pictures of you cosplaying as your characters. And I was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do this magazine and whatever. And they were like, yeah, what are we doing with these? And do you own these images? I'm like, yeah. And then Valerie Willis is the COO. And she looked at me in the Zoom meeting and she went, give me 24 hours and let's meet. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, and I need a copy of that dragon that you did. And I'm like, oh, that's by Pandy Van, my dragon illustrator. She's like, yeah, I need that dragon. So I sent it to her. I didn't think much of it. The next day we met and there was the mock-up with me as Lady Serena, the mermaid. And there's my dragon. And the mock-up for book 1 was redone. And she's like, so this is what we're going with from now on. You on the cover. And how do we feel? And I just remember looking and I'm like, I'm sorry. I thought you said me on the cover. And then her and Erica Lance, who's the CEO, said, yes, we came to a conclusion. You're going to cosplay on all the book covers. And that's what we're doing from now on. And I was like, why? And they were like, because you're a cosplayer, you know these characters, and we've decided that's what we're doing. And so we sat down, we had a meeting, and I said, okay, so here's the deal. I'm like, you can't airbrush me so I look 25. I'm like, because I'm not. I said, I need some say in this. I'm like, and when the day comes that I can no longer do this, you ladies will hand me a pint of Haagen-Dazs, sit me down, tell me I'm pretty, and that we need to move on. I'm like, I'm going to curse you out.
I'm going to just do that anyway.
Yeah, I was like, it's not going to be pretty. I'm like, and the next day we'll tell each other we love each other, and I will pick the next girl moving forward, like whoever it takes it over. And they just went, okay, deal. And that was it. And so I've done the covers ever since, but I do make all the armor that you see. The cover for, I think it's book 4, which is Kingdom Come. King Jarvok is on the cover. I had a say in picking George, who is King Jarvok, but that armor I made. And I'm making the armor for book 6, which is Asa, the first female Dark Fae who will appear on the covers. I'm in the process of making her armor and getting ready to shoot that cover.
Okay, let's bring up some of these books right now so people can see it. And that will be the armor right here that you made, correct?
Yes, the headpiece was made by Feral Creations from Etsy, but all the crystal work, the skull, that is all resin work. It's hard to see on him, but yeah, you can kind of see it. All the grommet work that I had to learn how to do resin work real quick. But the cosplay community was very helpful in showing me all the crystals to do the labradorite that he has. It's hard to see in that, but it was a big undertaking. But yeah, we did all of that, and the dress I made, there's a bunch of crystals on it, everything.
And we can see that right there. Mm-hmm. Now, this book came out in May of this year, correct?
Yes. Yes, it did.
Okay. How long did it take you to... this is not self-published. Now, we did have another author on, and he was self-published. When you went to Four Horsemen, did it take them long to publish your book?
I met Four Horsemen on a podcast. I was with another publisher at the time. And the minute the podcast was over, Erica Lance, who was the host of A Drinking with Authors, leaned in and she went, "So, are you happy with your publisher?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, they're okay." And they were like, "They do nonfiction and you're their first fiction book." I said, "Yep." And she goes, "So, I'm going to send you a contract, read it over, and let me know if you're thinking of switching." And that was in May. I switched to Four Horsemen in August. And they re-edited book 1 and released it within 2 months. And ever since then, it's been like, Danielle, get these books done. I mean, they don't give me time to breathe, much less anything else. I release usually about 2 books a year, give or take. But it's pretty good, and they allow me to have a lot of collaboration, just even in the layout. You know, like I get to have say in what my page breaks look like, or putting the dragon breathing fire inside of them. I mean, it's been pretty cool having the map. You know, if something's happening in the book where I want, leaves growing around the map or something like that, it's been awesome. They've been very collaborative, but it depends on the book, how long it'll take.
Okay, we have a comment from Sarah Vattel that says peanut.
Yep, that's me.
I've never heard that before. Okay.
I have many names.
That's funny because my dog who inspires some of the dragons, her nickname is Peanut. So that's why I wasn't sure. And I have a dedication to Peanut.
Oh, you just thought you had like a stalker in your house. That's funny.
I was like, I've never seen.
Say anything then and be like, oh, I have no idea where that came from.
And Sarah comes back and says, sorry. No, Sarah, don't be sorry. I was just kind of confused. And Sarah says she's been exposed. So out of all the books right now, Danielle, which is your favorite?
That is a toss-up. Kingdom Come, I love. But my novella, Fire, Ice, Acid, and Heart, is probably pretty near and dear because it was inspired by different dogs and my friends' dogs. They're all different dragons in the books, and it's a love letter to pet owners out there and pet parents. So that's probably pretty darn close to one of my favorites, especially because my Yorkie Los, who's, has just turned into a reader favorite, plays a part in it. He's Los the Chameleon Dragon. And at one point he's holding up in the tournament a name of a competitor and dancing around. And for some people, everybody responded to that and was like, oh, when Los is doing his little shuffle, that's the best part. And I'm like, really? I have dragon fighting and we're still all talking about Los's little butt shuffle. But, that got him. So, okay,
of course
sure.
You're talking about it.
Okay. Sarah wants to know, can you say the title again, please?
Fire, Ice, Acid, and Heart.
And Sarah, just so you know, we will be bringing up where you can find these books once again. Hold on one second. Wow. And we're going to pull that link up really shortly. You can find all of Danielle's books at this very one website right here on your screen. And no, not that one.
Not that one.
No.
Try again.
That's the other website.
Yeah. What the hell was that? That has to definitely. There you go.
And that's the only book I'm not on the cover on. It is a dragon. That is not me, that cover on Fire, Ice, Acid, and Heart. Let's just
there you go. If you go to that. Yeah, there you go. if you go to that website, you can find all of Danielle's books. So, what made now Fae? Why the Fae? Why fairies? And you said that their blood was blue. What made you decide that? Is that just through lore or something that you came up with? And what's your twist on the lore of the Fae?
They're blue because I'm a Giants fan. I'd like to give you some big scientific reason, but no, I'm just a Giants fan and I bleed blue. So the Fae do. It's really not deep. No, I'm just a big New York Giants fan. And so I made a joke. Somebody was like, "Oh, you can't get football into fairies." I'm like, "Yes, you can."
Yeah.
Clearly,
you can.
Clearly, I can.
Okay, that's okay. Other characters that were inspired by whom?
Hoggle, the metal gnome, is my dad. My dad works on motorcycles. He builds motorcycles. And so Hoggle makes the ordinary extraordinary. And I grew up literally in my dad's auto body shop. So, as young as I can imagine, I've been around, mechanics. And my dad, to me, every time he builds something, I'm more amazed by it. He could take a fuse cover box and airbrush it into a twilight scene, of stars and sunsets. And I just thought that was always so amazing. So Hoggle's my dad. Marco, his assistant, is my Uncle Ronnie, because out of all my uncles, my Uncle Ronnie was the only one my dad ever got along with in the shop. So Marco is my Uncle Ronnie, Hoggle's assistant, and his little protege. Lady Serena is my best friend from high school, Jen. And that is Queen Aurora's best friend as well. And they have their little girl talks on the beach, because that was inspired by Jen and our talk at Fawnstock when we were, teenagers, and we thought we knew the world and we were having such deep conversations.
Teenage girls, we know everything.
Yes, because it's 16 and 17, you're having these conversations about life and philosophy. Yeah, okay. All right, so that's what we were doing. King Jarbok is not inspired so much by a real person as much as every brooding man that we thought we could, every guy, every bad boy, and a little bit of Magneto from X-Men.
Okay, because two of your influences, one of them was George Pérez, and the other was Chris Claremont.
Yes, so much.
Okay.
So much.
Okay.
Dark Phoenix, Days of Future Past. His writing style is just, to me, was always amazing. The world building and how he could write so many books and still keep it all straight. I don't know how the man did it. And I actually asked him that question when I met him.
Okay.
Because I said, how did you get, and he just looked at me dead in the face and he went, "I'm just really smart." And I'm like, I was waiting for this big moment. And then he's like, "I'm just really smart." But then he gave me a whole lesson in screenplay writing, because I was dressed as Wonder Woman. And he looked at me, he goes, "What did you think of Wonder Woman 84? And I was so shocked that he wanted to have this conversation with me. And I'm like, well, I thought that they could have done this or that to connect the DCEU. And he's like, "Let's get into that." And he just leaned over and he's like, let's talk. And I'm like, oh, okay, sir. And he's like, "So this is how I would," and we wound up having a 15-minute conversation about how Batman versus Superman should have gone down, how Wonder Woman 84, how we would have connected all the movies. And it was like this amazing discussion. And I'm sitting here going, I am talking to the godfather of the X-Men about how to fix the DCEU. Let me just take this in and take this moment for a second and just can I freeze it? And it was like this wonderful discussion. And he actually asked for my book. I gave it to him and he was like, "Oh, great. This is something for me to read on the plane." And we had a whole talk about that too. And I'm like, yeah, I could die a happy girl now. That
was my next. Yeah, that was one of my next questions. I was going to ask you, have you given your book to any of your heroes, and what have they thought about it?
I gave it to Chris Claremont. We talked about the cover for a minute, and then he looked at it. He went, "This is you." And I looked at him, I went, "Yeah." And he's like, "The cover's beautiful." And then he read the synopsis on the back and he goes, "It grabs me." He's like, "Nicely done, honey." And I was like, "Oh my God, somebody get it on tape, get it on tape, get it on tape." It was just that, is anybody here to witness this? And then it was funny because I said, "Can I get a picture?" And he looked me up and down dressed as Wonder Woman. He goes, okay. And I went to go around the table and he went, stop. COVID. And I looked at him like, it ain't COVID, because I seen you taking pictures all day with people and they weren't separated. So I got close to take the picture and he leaned over and he went, next time I see you, get a Marvel cosplay going. Okay, honey? And I just looked, I went, yes, sir. I said, really, I've been working on a Firestar one. And he went, mm-hmm. And it was just this like, sure. And I was like, I go, brand loyalty. I get it. And he went, exactly. And I took the picture, but I was the only DC cosplayer he took a picture with. So I was like, it's okay. I did meet Jim Steranko. Mm-hmm. And when Steranko found out I was an author, he actually was like, can I get a copy of your book? And I looked at him and I went, I'm sorry, what? It was just one of those moments of I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. He's like, I would like to read it. And I stared at him and I was like, all right, let me just, like, I took a step back for a second because I was like, it's getting a little hot in here. I'm like, you want a copy of my book? And he was like, yeah, I would love to read it. And we had a whole talk. And I said, I don't and at the time I didn't have one. He goes, are you coming back tomorrow? I said, I will come back tomorrow for you. Yeah. So the next day I went back and I was waiting like in line at his table and his handler actually came and got me. And he's like, you don't have to wait. He's been waiting for you. And I'm like, what? So I went over to him and I said, oh, sir, I have the book. And he said, did you sign it to me? And I'm like, hold on a second. Jim Steranko's asking me if I signed my book to him. Once again, where's the video camera? Like, come on. So I was like, oh, yes, sir. I wrote it out to me. He's like, is your contact information in it? And I'm like, yes, it's on the back. And I'm showing him. And I'm like, it's right here. And then he looked at the cover and he went, that's you. And I said, yeah. And he grabbed my face and he said, I told you yesterday, if I was still working, you're beautiful enough that I would have put you on the cover of one of my things. And he grabbed me and he hugged me and he was like, I'm going to read this and I'll let you know what I think. And I was like, okay. And then his assistant reached out to me on Instagram and said, Mr. Steranko wants to say thank you. And it was such a pleasure. And I'm like, let me know what you think of the damn book. But I was like, great, wonderful. Thank you so much. So I'm waiting here. You never know.
You never know. We do have a comment from someone very special. Thomas Smith says, hi, friends. But I just want to say happy birthday to Tom. Yes, Tom today's his birthday, and he's a very special friend to Em and I and the whole Angrygeeks family. So I do want to say happy birthday, Tom.
Happy
we'll
birthday,
see you
Thomas.
soon, buddy. Yes. I just want to say that really, really quick. Danielle, where are your books available if people cannot get them through the website? Do you go to conventions and make appearances?
I do go to conventions. I'm going to GalaxyCon in Columbus.
Okay.
And then I'll be at Louisville, the Louisville Book Fest and Southern Book Fest. But you can always get them at barnesandnobles.com, target.com, Amazon, the usual places, bookshop.org, which is great. If you want to, support your local bookstores, bookshop.org is a great place to go. But I'm in the usual places, Amazon, like I said, Target, barnesandnobles.com, all of those places as well.
Now, are they also available in the stores as well? Are they in the shop?
Yeah, local places. Depends on the area and stuff, but we are spreading out to go into more of the places, and actually a lot of crystal shops carry me.
Really? What was it like the first time walking in a shop or in a store and seeing the book on the shelf?
I took a picture and I kind of screamed. And I lost my mind a little bit. I did do that. And then it was funny. The first time I saw it in Barnes and Nobles, I was in White Plains. And I went up and then somebody said it was a mistake and it was a return. And it deflated me a little bit. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And they were like, yeah, it's not supposed to be there. But then it's funny because then the clerk came by and said, it's such a pretty book. I want it. And I explained I was the author, and the guy was like, oh, can you autograph it for me? I'm like, if you could tell your manager not to be such a pain in my neck, yeah. I'm like, and it's not a return. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I could do that. But yeah, I've been really happy. Like I said, I'm in a lot of crystal shops because I have a lot of crystals in the book, and they're, I did research and I've worked with, more crystal experts and Wiccans to make sure that everything in there is legit. So a lot of the metaphysical shops carry me, which is awesome because you don't find a lot of fiction books in those shops, so I tend to stand out.
Okay. Have you done a signing in one of those?
Not yet. I have a couple places that would like me, but due to COVID, the COVID restrictions have always kind of gotten me and stopped it. So we're hoping that as things have lifted, we're heading back in.
All right. Em, you have any questions? You've been very quiet tonight.
Well, I've been, it's been very nice to listen. So, that's why. But, it's not so much a question that I have. I know you said it wasn't your intention to be, on your book covers, but I think that makes it like 5 times better, because that just makes it, it's your story, but that just makes sense. It connects it. That makes it even more you, and it's your art here, and it just like kind of completes it. You know what I mean? That's just me, my 2 cents. I think that's fantastic. I love that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's been definitely a different journey in all of this, because they always say don't judge a book by its cover, but let's face it, we all do that.
For real.
So
yeah.
When you're writing, when you have the art that's inside of it, and then you have something to do with what's on the cover, there's anxiety on both ends of the spectrum.
Of course. Yeah.
So you're like, okay. And then a lot of times people don't recognize me from the cover. My dad didn't know I was on the cover. I gave him
that just
1.
happens like from cosplay, I feel like all the time, just in general. But I mean, again, that just means you did a really good job with the cosplay, because you want to look like the character, not yourself.
Exactly. I gave my dad book 1 and he was like, oh, it's great. Who's the chick on the cover?
Who's the chick on the cover?
And I'm like, Dad, the chick's me. And he was like, get out of here. And I'm like, no, Dad, he's like, really? And then he had to take a look. He's like, you're blonde. I'm like, yeah, I'm wearing a wig. I'm like in a really big headpiece.
You know what that is? It's called a wig. It's like they make those pretty sheets,
and a tail. I'm like, there's a tail. There's things on there that would make it. So we
not too many humans really have those, but I'm assuming
around, But it's been a lot of fun. I've had a great time with this experience completely. It's been, like I said, not what I planned on at all. But I thought maybe when I thought I'd be a writer, I thought I'd get into the comic book industry. Yeah, I worked at Moondogs at one point trying to learn the back end. I thought maybe I'd go that route, and my dream is to one day have a graphic novel for the FAE series. That's what I'd love to hook up with somebody like AWA or something like that. Mike Diodato Jr. Hey, if you're listening, call me. But something like that. That's that's where I thought I'd go. But it's just funny how life kind of turns around and directs you a different way. And
Absolutely.
It's like, no, this is what you're going to be doing. So being on the cover has been awesome, meeting these people and learning I didn't think, it's not like I read about the FAE. I was not.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I read a lot of vampires.
That's why, Lewis, you asked that question. Where did that come from?
Correct.
Yeah. Exactly.
No idea.
So if you were going to cast, say Netflix came calling, Roku came calling, Amazon came calling, and they were going to make this book series into a film, and you had to cast the 3 central characters. Before we take our, I want you to think about this because it's time to take our first break for our first sponsor. I want you to think about it, Danielle, and I want you to tell our audience who you would cast for the 3 main central characters. Okay? We're going to take a quick 30-second break, and when we come back, we're going to get Danielle's answer to that question. We'll be right back.
Square Collectibles, 39 Wedgwood Drive, Suite 232, inside Slater Mill Mall. Pokemon every Saturday mornings. Become a Pokemon Blaster. Magic the Gathering every Friday night. Comics, toys, vinyls, diecast, and more. Find your inner hero at CH Square Collectibles. Proud sponsor of the Angrygeeks show.
And we're back, Danielle. Time for you to answer that question. Who would you cast?
Oh, that's so hard. I've always thought of this as an as animation. So now I'm trying to switch my brain to live action.
Okay.
Let me think. So
Well, you can also do both, because now that you said that, yes, that's what I was just thinking.
Okay, so let me take the animation route first. For King Jarvok, I know people are going to laugh at this. I've always thought of Will Arnett, Lego Batman. I think he's got a great voice. GMC, the voice of GMC. I've always thought of him for King Jarvok. I like what he does with the voice. So that's always who I've thought of. For Lady Serena, Drew Barrymore, the mermaid.
Yes.
That's just, I think she's just got this voice. And for Queen Aurora, Dawn Lewis, Star Trek Lower Decks.
Oh, okay. All right.
Or Upper Decks. Yeah. You know what she does? She's been Storm in a lot of video games, and she's just got a regal quality to her voice that I think she could pull off, that Queen Aurora vibe. And that would be my voice choices. For those are the main people I see. But if somebody, was asking for further, I would want all the dragons to be rock stars.
There you go.
I would
really?
I would want like Dee Snider for Dragor, or I'd want Bret Michaels, something like that, like Patti Smith for Raycor. I just want nothing but rock stars for all the dragons. I would dig
that.
Yeah, I can
give it something different.
Exactly.
I think that would be, just something kind of cool, because dragons to me are the rock stars of the fantasy world.
Agreed.
Think about it.
Okay, agreed. Animation
in there.
And Gene Simmons. You got to have Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Animation style. What would you do? What would your animation style be?
Probably a little Castlevania, a little dark, because I'm more violent and more gory than most. So I would see it kind of in that vein, so to speak, no pun intended. That it would probably be more that realm. I like what Powerhouse did with Castlevania.
Okay.
I thought it was well done, and I liked that it was darker, even in tone. I thought the tones were done very well. So I did like that style. I don't want Masters of the Universe Revelation stylish, good try, but
good.
I'm just gonna leave that alone. We're just gonna put it in the box. But yeah, it would probably be more a Castlevania style, because I do have, like I said, the book is more, when I say Fae, a lot of people think romance. I'm not romance. I'm hardcore, high fantasy, violence kind of thing, and more political intrigue, that thing. So I would want to go kind of that style, Castlevania.
All right, with character design, obviously you do your own character design, because you design all of the the costumes before you continue on to cosplaying. How much thought goes into, I'm going to say, the male characters? Because obviously you're not cosplaying as the male characters, but how much thought goes into? You have.
I have put on all the male armor as well. I put on Jarvok's armor and did do it. I did his Power Angel armor. I did his Dark Fae armor, and I've worn it because I wanted to make sure that it was conducive for them. So my males get just as much attention as my females, because I need to know, down to their boots, like how high can their boots come before it's cumbersome? What kind of heel would they wear? Would it be flat? Would it not? I went through all of that, even down to Jarvok, when he goes from becoming a Power Angel to embracing as the Dark Fae King. I had to change his armor because I wanted him to become this intimidating character and take on the mantle of king. He wanted to become a general. And one of his guys tells him, no. A general means you can be overthrown. A king is by birthright. So I decided, okay, your armor needs to get redesigned. It should be more intimidating. So I remember trying it on different guys, because at one point I'm like, okay, King Jarvok is 6'7". It gets to the point where I'm like, I can't really pull this off. So I actually tried it on different male body types to see, can you move around? At what point do the paldrones not sit right? So they get as much attention as my females.
Okay.
I wanted to see what would work.
All right. This book right here, I mean, this cover is badass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What character is this?
This is Captain Desdemona. She is the leader of the Illuminasca, which is an all-elite female light fae guards.
Okay.
This is the last line of defense for the light fae. So she is the head of it. She was a power angel who exalted to virtue status, which is unheard of because she had a altercation with Lucifer and survived. So her reward was to become a virtue angel, which is higher than the power brigade. And
Okay.
she was in charge of being the bodyguards for the virtue angels. And so she serves and chooses to serve Queen Aurora. So she has the Harbinger sword, which she's holding. She has two of them. And if you are killed with it, your name is tattooed on her body. And that's a marking of her kill.
That is now. How long did it take you to build this cosplay?
That cosplay took me, those swords, I have both of them, I made them. Those swords took me the longest to make out of all of them. They were 3D printed, and between the paint and everything else, because my dad actually sat there telling me how many shades of blue to gray I had to do on them. So the whole thing. That probably took me, that was about 4 or 5 months altogether. Wow. Of doing it and getting the look. And it's a little bit of a crow gothic, there's definitely some crow elements. Denise Apostle is my makeup artist. We sat and really thought about how we were going to do this look and what we were going to do. I made the gauntlets, and the gauntlets had resin crystals put into it to look like labradorite, and they were brought and inlaid into the gauntlets as well. And then the shoulder piece was that was a skull, and then laced out. So yeah, it was a lot. Then there was the wig, and then she has red tipped bangs. There was a lot involved with her.
Oh no.
Question of the week. This week's question of the week is once again brought to you by Alternate Universe in New Haven and Milford. For all your new and old comic book needs, make sure you stop by and see Eric and the crew. Make sure you tell them that you heard about them on the Angry Geek Show, and tell them that yes, they are Angry Geeks approved. This week's question of the week. You've been given an elephant. You can't get rid of it, but you have to hide it. What would you do with it? Once again, you've been given an elephant. You can't get rid of it, but you have to hide it. What would you do with it? Danielle, you are our guest, so you go first. You've been given an elephant. You can't get rid of it, but you have to hide it. What would you do with it?
Well, I'm slapping some wings on it. I'm calling it a fae, and I'm putting it right in the living room and putting it in plain sight. It's my inspiration elephant.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I would have one.
I would. Okay.
Everybody has one. The Belchers have
one. Okay. All right. M. What you gonna do? No.
Well, I said no.
Oh, I thought you said no.
No, that's not an option here.
I know.
I mean, I would say, you have to blend that. I would be like, okay, camouflage and giant elephant. I'm gonna have one of those giant camper boulders in my backyard. Oh, that's just a boulder. I use it for my campfire in my backyard. Bigger the better. So yeah, giant elephant, giant boulder. That looks the same, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's great.
Totally the same.
What do you got, Lewis?
I don't think the judges say no for M. Oh
Judges.
no. Yeah, the judges.
We have judges.
Judged?
I guess. I don't know. I just wanted to do that. I had fun. What would I do? What would I do?
Yeah.
First I would watch Operation Dumbo Drop and see what they did. I just dated myself there.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
That was a Bill Murray movie. Oh, you saw it, Danielle. You remember
Ray
that movie?
Liotta.
Yes, there you go. Operation Dumbo Drop. Emma's laughing right now. I don't know when this question came across. I think I would put it in the pool and just have it keep spraying water and say it's a water fountain.
Like water slide.
Yeah, yes, that's what I think I would know, and they said no. So it looks like Danielle wins with 5 points today.
Who's saying these things?
They know
I would
who
like
they
to see
are.
them give me a good answer, please.
No,
I'll be
no.
judging you.
Oh, okay. Well, what do you think of my answer? You think my answer was
I
good?
think you gave a good answer. I think both of you gave creative answers. I definitely think I gave the worst one. Don't get me wrong. But
Okay. All right. Well, that's what I would do. If you have a suggestion for a question of the week, please submit it through the website. And yeah, let us know. Danielle, for cosplay, you cosplay Wonder Woman and some other characters, but I do want to bring up one character that I promised and that I would bring up. What can you tell us about that?
Oh, my Harley Quinn. Yeah, I love my Harley. I want to tell you so badly that I'm Wonder Woman, but I'm so much closer to Harley. You know, I throw my dogs in the car and, you know, they're my hyenas.
I was gonna say the
It's like
hyenas, right?
Yeah, it's like we ride at midnight. You know, I really want to be Wonder Woman, like so deep down. I'm like, I want to be good. I want to be good. I want to be good. But once you put that paint on and you get in it, it's like I got the mallet and I'm out. I'm Harley through and through. I love cosplaying as Harley. I get requests for Harley, and you know how it is.
I do.
You know, yes. It just happens. I went to Heroes Con in Charlotte for the first time this year because I've relocated to Charlotte. And the first day I went as Wonder Woman 84. I was all goldened out, like the whole thing, sun reflecting off the helmet. They actually came out, got me in line, and they were like, you don't have to wait out here. They were like, you really shouldn't wait out here. Come inside. I didn't have to wait online, whatever. And I realized nobody cosplays on Friday there. So I went back the next day as Harley. Arkham Asylum, the whole thing, leather, done. And my husband's work buddies were there. You know, I have not met anybody from my husband's job. And I'm sticking my tongue out. I got my cork gun. And all of a sudden I hear, hey, Phil. And my husband looks at me. He's like, oh, my God. Those are my bosses. And I look at him. I'm like, what? He's like, say what? What? And he's like, just stay here. He's like, don't move. Nothing. He's like, just Harley. Just stay where you are, please. And he goes over and talks to them. And all I hear is that your wife? With all the people? He's like, is that? And my husband looks over and literally I got a Nightwing on one side, I got a Bane on the other. And I got the cork gun and I'm like, aha! And my husband's like, yeah, that's yeah, that's yeah, that's my wife. That's Harley over there, you know. And then I had like other guys and they were like, oh, so she cosplays? He's like, And they were like, yeah, there was some girl walking around yesterday all in gold, we heard. And my husband's like, oh, God, that was her, too. He's like, really? Really? You don't say. They were like, yeah. She was like, I don't know, Wonder Woman or something. And he was like, oh, I don't know. You know, he's like, we weren't here yesterday. He comes over and he's like, let's go. Just come on. And he was like, I got to get back. And great seeing you guys. And they were like, yeah, we're here for the art crawl or whatever. And he's like, great. Yeah, talk to you later. No problem. And then he comes over and he was like, just walk. He's like, just walk. And I'm like, uh-huh. And I was just Harley'd out walking around. He's like, don't take pictures with anybody else. He's like, wait till we get around the corner, then take whoever you want. He's like, just let me get around the corner, honey. Thanks so much.
So, has your husband ever been back to a con, or do you just go by yourself?
I thought you were going to say back to work.
We went back to work. Yeah. We went back to work. Their kids took pictures with me the next day as Wonder Woman when I was Linda Carter Wonder Woman. It's worked out. When he goes with me, he comes in just like his Captain America t-shirt. That's about it. But usually I go by myself. This was the first time he'd gone with me in a while because it was a new city. We weren't familiar with things. But normally I go by myself for various reasons. And yeah, it's just, he laughs because he just looks around and he's like, okay, just go have fun. He's like, you know, and I got, like I said, I either got, Harley, I got a mallet with me, I got a cork gun, or I'm walking around as Wonder Woman and,
I actually have the cork gun tattooed on me.
You understand then. You get it. I got the Wonder Woman tattoo across the back. I've been debating on the Harley stuff. And he's just like, no more. He's like, we're done for now.
That makes you want to do it more, though.
It does. And I'm just debating on what. But yeah, he's seen me. He's like, I walked out the door and I'm like, could you grab the whip as I'm Catwoman? I'm like, I can't bend down in this. Can you just grab the whip? And he's like,
oh yeah, I've been there too. Yep.
Yeah. Like I have to, my Wonder Woman, my original Wonder Woman outfit, when it's gal, I can't bend down because it's, it's all the foam.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
I have to bring somebody with me because I'm like, if I lose something, I kick it. It's like, well, it's gone. I can't bend down in this thing, So he just.
It's like that was nice while it lasted. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, that was there go the keys. I'm like, who's ever coming with me? I'm like, understand you're there to pick stuff up. That's it. Like I've been Raven, George Perez's version. I'm like, no capes. You can't go to New York Comic Con wearing a cape. You're going to get stepped on. Like there's certain characters I no longer go as for various reasons. Yeah. Raven, you're going to get stepped on. The cape is just gone.
Yeah.
So, we've learned Poison Ivy. There's a million of them when you go. So you got to do something different. What I learned is I bear too much of a resemblance to superhero high Poison Ivy. So I have every little girl coming up to me because I go with the plants who all want to pet the plants and take pictures with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I learned every little girl wants to take a picture. So I'm like, okay, this is adorable. But bending down in a corset to take pictures with 4-year-olds? Holy cow, that's difficult.
Practice.
That's difficult
that
little
takes
movement.
Practice.
Yeah, when you're like getting down and you're like, okay, all right, I'm getting down for you, honey. Give me a second. Just wait 1 second. And then you got to watch the dad because the camera tends to tip. So you're like, Dad, keep it up. I got your kid here. Take a picture. Keep that camera where it is. When you're Wonder Woman, every little girl will take a picture with you.
Yeah.
Harley, different crowd.
A little bit. Depending on it varies which Harley as well. You know what I mean?
Batman animated series Harley, you'll get more kids.
Yes.
Depends on the Harley. So you start to learn when you cosplay what crowd you're gonna get.
Oh yeah.
But yes. I've learned with Poison Ivy, I bear a resemblance to Superhero High or whatever the DC Heroes High, the cartoon. Because I went to New York Comic Con and I had every little girl. And so the mother turned around, she goes, you know why? And I'm like, no, I thought and she was like, and then she showed and I went, oh crap, I didn't even know about the cartoon. But it was adorable. I had little Starfires and Ravens coming up to me from Teen Titans Go. Kissing me on the cheek, and they were like, oh my god, it's Pam. I'm like, okay, kids. We all took pictures and it was adorable and I loved it and I had a great time. And same thing with Wonder Woman at Heroes Con. I went as kind of a mix of Linda Carter and I wore the little skirt and I had every little girl and we were all doing our bullets, bracelets thing, and it was wonderful and I loved it. And that's the best part of cosplaying.
Right. What got you into cosplay and how long have you been doing it?
I was cosplaying when I didn't even know it was cosplay or didn't even know I was cosplaying.
Okay.
The first real time, I was always going, obviously, on Halloween. I've gone almost every Halloween as Wonder Woman. And my dad will attest to that because the underoos practically fell off my body. I was always doing stuff like that. But I did it the first time I did it like outside of Halloween and all that stuff was for my green belt test. I had to break a board in Taekwondo. So I made the Deborah Winger Wonder Girl Drusilla outfit, and I put it on underneath to give me a little bit of strength. And like, cause I was so nervous, the head of my organization was coming down to judge us and this whole thing. So I wore it underneath. And my instructor saw it peeking out of my dobok, my uniform. And he called me to the desk and he was like, come here. And I walked over. He's like, what the hell are you wearing underneath your uniform? And I opened it up and he was like, is that Wonder Woman? I was like, first of all, it's Wonder Girl. Get it straight. And he was like, all right, Wonder Girl, whatever. And I was like, and it's Drusilla, but technically it's Donna Troy. And I went on this rant about it. And he just looked at me and he was like, Danielle, I don't have time for this crap. He's like, break the friggin' board. And then he stopped and he went, are you wearing bracelets under that? And I showed him, I went, no, those are in my locker because I thought they'd get in my way. And he goes, I can't believe I'm saying this. He's like, go get the friggin' bracelets. He's like, just go get them before I change my mind right now. He's like, do you have a lasso under there? And I lifted up my thing and I had like basically, you know, Christmas gold thread tied to it. And he goes, you're wearing a lasso? I went, it's not a lasso. I was like, and it's a lasso of truth. I was like, but if you want to get technically, Cassie Sandmark. And he just went, stop. He goes, just stop right now. He's like, don't say anymore. He goes, go get the bracelets before I change my mind. And I had clay bracelets made in Ardent. And he goes, break the board. He's like, if you don't break this board, I swear to God, I'm going to fail this whole test. And I broke the board. And then I realized, like at that point I was cosplaying, but I didn't know. And then I went to my first Comic-Con and I had a white button down and I had the Wonder Woman bustier on underneath. And I put my hair in a bun and I went as like Linda Carter mid-change because I was still getting used. And that's when I started seeing people cosplay. And that's when I started cosplaying. After that, I realized, oh, you could go to Comic-Con and people dress up. So I started going every year, and every year I went as Yvonne Craig, Batgirl, and then started, you know, doing it and kind of upping my game, so to speak. And that's when you've been making your own cosplay ever since. I make my own. You know, sometimes I need help because you just do. You know, you can't do everything. But yeah, the only thing I haven't done Vampirella. I keep thinking I want to do it, but I just chicken out every year. I get real close. And then I'm like, I can't do it. Maybe one year I will. I don't know.
All right, we got to take a quick 30-second break for Blood, Sweat, and Tears Wrestling. And Blood, Sweat, and Tears Wrestling, November 18th. Lucas Chase, first JD Drake. Make sure you go to the YMCA Rapula Center at 750 Central Ave in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And come and see the Faces and Heels podcast and the Angry Geek Show for this fantastic main event of Blood, Sweat, and Tears Wrestling. We're going to have more matches to announce very soon, but the title will be on the line, and my money is on JD Drake. And we're back with Danielle. Danielle, before we wrap up tonight, I want to say thank you very much for being on. And Em, do you have any other questions for Danielle before we wrap up?
No, I definitely had some, but you guys did a fantastic job of covering them, honestly.
All right, Danielle, once again, where can people, and I know you are not on Facebook because you don't do Facebook, but you do Instagram. So please tell people where they can find you on Instagram or they can follow you and get some of your fantastic novels.
Oh, shameless self-promotion time. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Here we go. You can find me at birthofthefae.com. You can follow me on Instagram at birthofthefae_novel. And then a cool place to find me where apparently all the kids are going right now is Bookie Call. It's an app that's kind of like Tinder for books. You can swipe right or left and find out your next great book date. And Locked Out of Heaven, my first book, is on there. So it's for iOS and Android. And check it out. And then you can always find me on fourhorsemenpublications.com.
Now, your books come in many different forms. So if you go to fourhorsemen.com, you can get an audiobook, an ebook, a hardcover, or paperback. Now, most of the Angry Geek Show audience, they do like things autographed and signed. If someone wants to get purchase a hardcover or a paperback and they would like to get it autographed by you, how could they reach you? Just by going through the social media and contacting you, or go through the publisher themselves?
You can just either go to the publisher and find it, or you can just hit me up on Instagram, slide in my DMs, slide on in and hit me up there. Or you could just message me on my website and we can definitely work something out. I'm always happy to autograph something for anybody. And you can let me know how you would like it autographed. And we have enough hardcovers coming out, especially Locked Out of Heaven and Nine Eyes of Mercy have just come out in hardback. And I can, send it out to whomever you'd like, or make it out to whatever little Fae blessing, like Chaos be with you. That's always a nice one. And hit you up that way and take care of things.
And when's your next book coming out? I know you said you have one coming out, but now you're just shooting a cover for your next book. But when will that book be released?
A Fae is Done comes out September 22nd, which is book 5. And then I'm shooting the cover for the next book, which will be book 6. And that is Forgive Us. And that will be coming out sometime in 2023. I don't have an exact date yet, but that will be the final book in volume 1 for the Birth of the Fae series. And that's just volume 1. I still have volume 2, which is very exciting.
Wow. M, please tell everyone where they can find you and find the Angry Geeks.
All right. Well, you can find me Instagram, Quinderella Cosplay. My website's quinderellacosplay.com. And you can just find me on my Facebook under my real name, Emily May Partington.
Partington.
Yes. Not Parrington, not Paddington.
Paddington
And you can find us on the Angry Geeks Show Facebook page and Instagram, the Angry Geek Show. Am I missing anything?
The AngryGeekShow.com, where it's now the Angry Geek Show Network, where you can find Faces and Heels podcast, the Angry Geek Show. You can find this on Roku, Amazon, Fire Stick, Pod TV, and all kinds of jazzy stuff. And if you want to listen to us, because you can't watch us while you're driving, our podcast, where every podcast can be found, iTunes, Spotify, all the places that the kids go. Just go to the website and you can get them right there on the podcast page. You can download them, listen to them fresh. I'm Lewis. That's Emily. You know who we are. That's Danielle. Make sure you find her. Buy her books. Go to Amazon. Go to Four Horsemen Publishing and get the stuff and read it, because it's Angry Geeks approved. We'll see you guys next week, and make sure you tune in to Faces and Heels podcast tomorrow night, because O'Shea Edwards is going to be on with Jack Purcell and I. And we got some killer guests right here on the Angry Geek Show in the coming weeks. And don't forget, October, Em and I will be talking about a whole bunch of horror movies, and we got some killer guests lined up for October. We'll see you guys next week. Be safe.
You have been watching The Angry Geek Show on Pod TV. Visit our website today. And for guest bookings, email us at theangrygeekshow@gmail.com today.